So it's 6 o'clock, and I'll bring the meeting to order with everybody present except Peter, Alex, and Karen. So we still have enough people so we can do it. Do we have a motion on the minutes from May 8th first?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 8th.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a motion made and seconded? Do we have any discussion on the floor? Okay, we have a simple vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that passed. All right, let's take the meeting of May 10th. That was the night of the finance committee meeting. I mean, the town meeting, excuse me, finance committee. Well, we did have a finance committee meeting. We have a motion on the floor for the May 10th meeting.
I would move that we accept the minutes from the May 10th meeting.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Can I second if I did the minutes?
Yeah.
Sure
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded for the May 10th meeting. All those in favor?
No, I could
Oh,
discuss.
any discussion, excuse me. Sorry.
On the second bullet point there, when I'm looking at this real quick, I remember we did this, but I know you sent them out when I didn't read it.
That's okay.
It says we are not recommending the town budget. Well,
We didn't.
we weren't recommending one thing. But I'm just concerned that somebody comes back and reads this 6 months from now or whatever, for some reason.
Well,
It doesn't really convey the whole message that, at least that's the way I feel about it.
well,
I understand what you're saying. You don't think that however we are making the motion to amend covers that?
Because we only had 3 choices, recommend, not recommend, or defer.
I,
but it wasn't the whole town budget, I think.
no,
I think it was
that's
just,
on a motion for the,
could we
I can take
just
up,
amend it to the part that we,
in the minutes, we can say whatever that we want in the minutes, but based on what our discussion was. We don't have, we're not limited to those 3 things, and I think when we asked that question, I think the town council 3 or 4 meetings ago, recommend whatever, yeah, you can with, I think with we're supposed to be advising the people what we're talking about, what we're recommending. And that's why I wanted to bring several things up that I don't have all the answers to, but things that I think we need to talk about.
so you want me to reword that?
No, that's just my, I understand what Ted's saying, it does say that, but
Darren, if I may.
the budget is one big thing. We were not recommended one
piece of it.
piece of it.
Piece of it.
So why don't we?
I had people outside of this meeting talk to me about the same thing regarding the school budget. It's not that we weren't against the
Correct.
past school budgets, there was a slice of it that we wanted to do. In fact, we almost did an amendment, we discussed making an amendment along the lines of this.
And my point was, when we talked at our meeting ahead, was I thought it should be explained more of what exactly our intentions or our thoughts were based on the budget, what we were gonna do, which it wasn't done.
Could we, bullet point number 2, just, instead of recommending the town budget, we could put in there, I'm not sure the exact words or where it was, but the part of the school budget that we didn't recommend. And then that would be more correct of a statement.
Darren, could I make a suggestion? Would it be appropriate to add a comment to say, please refer to the meeting minutes of May 8th? Because those really gave the explanation of where you guys were at and why you made the decisions that you made. would that be a better solution? And then people would have a place to go to understand the reasoning and what specifically you were for and against, not for and against, but recommend versus not recommend?
Can I just,
Absolutely.
I don't disagree with you saying go to there, but I would like to see something in here that says that, and you can add in there, and additional information would be shown in the main.
So
We're
Article,
familiar with the, you know, I'm saying we do this stuff. You do this stuff all day long, so you have it in your head everywhere it is. Somebody else come along to read this.
Well, that's why I figure if
To give
I
them
link
just-
May 8th to it.
No, I understand, but somebody come along to read this, oh, now I gotta go someplace else. I think just a quick
we
thing
can't.
in here, and then we can also reference that.
So Article 4 is the town operating budget. That didn't include the school, and the only reason we didn't recommend the operating budget was because we were making the amendment to fund the non-union positions.
Correct, we were adding the salary stuff, correct. That's what I'm getting at, it was just that one thing that we were, and I think that should have been explained more also, but that's
Do you
my
want
own
me to
2
change,
cents.
I could change it to we're not recommending the town budget because we are making a motion to amend the budget to fund the non-union positions? Change the wording from however to because?
That's exactly what I wanted to say in the recommendation on the floor, but, yeah,
Does that cover it then?
I think that
Just that one,
covers it.
just that
That
change?
with the changes, how's that?
I'll just change however to because.
Okay,
That work?
yes. So we have a motion made and seconded, we had discussion, does anyone have any more discussion? We're voting on the little bit of a change that we decided on right there. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried unanimous. I think that clears it up. Does anyone have anything else in relation to the meeting minutes? All right. Under new business. Alex has resigned, we saw that letter, or at least we should have seen that letter. We.
I didn't see a letter.
I didn't see that.
I mean, I know he did, but.
Yeah,
He sent it to, didn't send it to us directly.
no, I think it went to the town clerk's office.
Yeah, went to the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
Anyways, Alex has resigned from the finance committee. And because of my position, I'm temporary chairman, and then Lynn would be the vice chairman because of her elected position, just till we can reorganize. We can't reorganize, well, everybody's gonna get sworn in
Tuesday.
Tuesday on the 27th.
The new appointees.
The new appointees, which Ann Ted. So,
Well, I'm just
So-
saying the ones who were reappointed, right?
yes, so Ludwig is one.
Mhm.
Gonna get killed here.
Carol?
Cal, I don't know, brain.
I know, we need to
And
keep
Cal.
it chatting, well, I agree
Yes,
with you.
we gotta
That's
chat.
the thing.
Well, the
We
problem
need
is,
tags.
the interesting part of this whole thing is Carol can't because she's replaced
She's replacing Pete,
Pete.
but that's not effective
It does-
until July 1st?
Yes, and Lou can't either because
Ludwig, so Ludwig can, after he's
After the
ratified on
27th.
Tuesday, correct, because he's filling Alex's seat.
but they can all be sworn in, or,
Ratified. and
Ratified
I
is
gotta go to
whatever.
town hall and
right,
Yes.
do that part.
before that, but we can't really, the only one that can vote is Ted Ludwig. Is that, am I correct?
Correct, yep, until July 1.
Until July 1. So we got, I'm sure we're gonna have a budget transfer before
I
then.
don't know where it says that you can't do anything before you ratify, but
It's in,
is it in there?
It's in the town finance committee bylaw, we did
Correct.
see that.
Yep, it's in the paper.
And we all got a copy of that, or we can get it to you if you haven't seen it.
Yep,
Is this in
The
recent?
the recent bylaw change, the last year bylaw
Well, I haven't seen
change.
the one since the, it went to the Attorney General. I mean, I have all the copies of
Well,
what
it hasn't-
was discussed,
It
but,
was not changed by the Attorney General, to the best of my
so
knowledge.
it should be the same as what we have.
Right.
I don't know where that is in there, but.
Actually. So, that being said, I wanna get Carol involved in this as quickly as possible, but we can't. But we're not gonna do anything except a budget transfer if that's necessary. I won't schedule a meeting till after July 4th. We can all get together on July 4th and, but I'll get together after July 4th and just have a quick statement of the meeting. And if anybody in the audience would like to speak, they're more than welcome. I will acknowledge them, but we can't at this time, and nobody in here can vote except Ted and the three of us. I think I've made that.
So what I hear you saying is we're putting off the reorganization until we have a full slate of membership.
Correct.
Which is gonna be after July 1st, which makes all the sense in the world to me. So
Yes.
Yep.
I thought we could do it before. We can't. That's not a problem. The only thing we're
we
gonna.
can, but the
Yeah.
four of us could, but that doesn't make any
It
sense.
does, yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, number one. And number two, my thought is we're only gonna have maybe a budget transfer, if anything.
Correct.
Probably.
Tamika, do we have any
Budget
premonition, crystal ball, whatever, that there might be some budget transfers? Sometimes they come out in advance. I know we dealt with a bunch already.
Only potential one is the one that the fire chief had given you guys a heads up on with the
Okay.
reserve fund. But as of right now, he has not submitted that request, and I just talked to Donnie yesterday, and there's nothing in the pipeline right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, hopefully Ted, Carol, and Ludwig have no problem with their confirmation, get ratified, everything's all good on the 27th. I don't think that should be a problem. One of my reasons, since we can't reorganize, we're just gonna pass over number 3. And one of my reasons for calling everybody together on the meeting on the 27th, I would like a show of support that I can go in, or we can all go in. We're not posted that we're gonna have a meeting that night, but if,
I did post it.
yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go in and ask them to show me a policy that says we can't use town council. And under a little bit of research I've done, there's nothing out there that says the finance committee can't use town council. So the former board chairman of the Board of Selectmen and our town administrator, I just want us to use the words right here, because would not allow us to use it. We were asked to use it 2 weeks before our meeting. We got kind of slow rolled till we had the meeting, so I'd like to go in and ask them to show it, or at least tell them that we want to change. If anybody's got anything to say here, please step in.
Isn't there somewhere there's a selectman policy from, this goes back years, I can remember it, about
There's
whatever,
nothing.
to use the town council, you're supposed to go, but only because it creates a bill. So
Yes.
they didn't want it just to be,
The-
which
the-
I understand.
We couldn't find anything that was like written down on paper. They may have had a policy to do that, and I understand it. So the way around it, and I talked to Leah about it, is I would like to propose that we would have a vote as a group, and as long as we had a majority, we would go forth and ask either the town administrator who operates through the selectmen, or one of the selectmen to authorize us to use that.
So one of the things you had sent to us was something about the town council bylaw. And didn't that, when I was reading it, didn't it say that only the board of selectmen or the town administrator can authorize it?
That's
So that
correct.
we can't even do it unless the town
Right.
administrator or
Well, that's what
selectmen
I'm
authorize
saying.
us.
So if we're gonna do that, what I would recommend to them is, if we have a majority vote, I'd like them to honor our request to use town council, because in my opinion, what happened there was totally wrong.
I agree with that.
Okay. That's, just so everybody knows, I don't think we should ever be refused town council for a legitimate reason. I'm looking at the new members too. And
my recollection, which sometimes can be fuzzy, was that at the meeting on the 8th, we basically discussed it as you just laid it out, that we would need the town administrator permission or the board of selectmen permission. And at that point in time, the town administrator said, you're gonna put me in a really tenuous situation because I'm going against my employers, meaning the board of selectmen. And at that point, we're 48 hours out from a town
Correct.
meeting. So
Exactly.
part of the discussion ought to be that there may be a period of time where there's extenuating circumstances where things are coming at us at that 11th hour that we need a little bit of leeway.
So what
Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Exactly, yep. And so, just so everybody's on the same page, the new members, is we asked about 2 weeks before the May 8th meeting.
I don't think I was here then, that's probably what
Okay,
it was.
on the May 8th meeting, Alex said he would check. And he did, and it kind of got caught up in politics and it didn't move forward. Is that, I'm just gonna be polite. So we never got any, we could not, and then all of a sudden we ended up with 48 hours because of what was going on. Go ahead, Cal.
I was at that meeting, if I could add a little bit to what Ted said, and it was not, it was yes, everything that you said, but it was because it was on an article that the select board had approved to be favorable for. And that was the linchpin, I think, with him not feeling comfortable, because that was the going against his employers, because they already said yes to the article and you were not there yet.
Correct.
So I think that's important.
So, yes, and I also wanted just to have everybody, at least Darren's impression of the finance committee, and I'm pretty sure Tommy's gonna say the same thing, is that the finance committee is a board that is checks and balances on the executive branch of government in the town of Rutland. So we should have the same access that some of the other boards. That's all I wanna stress to them when we go there, and if anybody else wants to go there on the 27th and help me, that's fine, but I don't wanna back off of it. I think that we should have access, and I'm kinda disappointed by the two people that slow rolled it for 2 weeks and didn't allow us to do it. And our decision on the 8th may have been different, and we may have had clarity to what Tommy said with what we voted on and how we did it, but we couldn't. And I don't think that's what we're here for. So that's all I wanna do. Alls I'm looking for is like a straw poll. You guys wanna support me to go there, or you can come too, but we're gonna,
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be there, anyway.
okay. But I just wanted everybody to know, that's my only intention. I mean, I was gonna try to reorganize tonight, but I just want everybody to know what I'm thinking, and if everybody's in favor of that,
This is
Right.
next Tuesday, right?
next Tuesday.
Okay.
And I don't,
With reasonable notice, you should have access to town, yes.
yes.
100%.
And we gave them 2 weeks, and then somehow it got,
Well, I don't wanna go, because one of the things I wanna talk about, I think this is something we have to go back into the bylaw and review as a group and make sure we're doing what the bylaw says, because there's several things in there I think that we've kind of strayed a little bit from. But that's one of them. It's what you said, and I've said this right along, it's the separation. You're supposed to have checks and balances, and it's not like we're gonna go there and ask all kinds of frivolous questions or spend a lot of money to do it. It's, we gotta be, if they say, no, you can't do it, but we say we have a legal question to check on whatever, we should be able to do it.
right. I didn't wanna let it, it's kind of a hot button issue, and, for me, and I just wanna let it, I wanted to bring it up here.
So what do you want to say, that we're in favor of going, at least talking to them about it at their meeting?
Yes,
That's the motion.
yes. Or just a straw poll, we don't need a motion necessarily.
Well,
All we need
I think we should have a motion to say, it's on the record, we made a motion, we voted on it, and it's what the committee thinks.
Okay,
And then there's no question about it.
all right, we have a
That's-
motion,
that's
we have a
what I get.
motion to
I don't want to
go on the 27th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for the finance committee, to go speak to the selectmen.
Well, that we're gonna go, but we're supporting what you're gonna present or
Correct.
say,
And if you don't like the way it's going, we'll all speak up.
well,
Right.
anybody can speak, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone have any other discussion on that little point?
Darren, just wanted to add, I know I put in the email, but Tommy, just to make sure everybody knows, the regular meeting isn't gonna start till 6:45 on Tuesday, so I just don't want people to show up at the usual time and then be stuck in the hallway.
Yeah.
So just
Because they're
as a
gonna have
heads up.
their,
Right, they're gonna start an executive session just out of respect for town council's time.
yeah,
And then just the other point, that I wanted to make, if I may, is that in reading the town council bylaw, it says the town administrator and or the select board, so not just the chair can make that decision alone. It needs to be a discussion by the whole board. And
Right.
it doesn't seem
That's
like
the way
that's
I
what
read it.
happened last time, so just it says the whole board.
Right, because it says, well, as it's designated, so they have to say to him, that's what they want him to do.
right.
And he has to be, he or she has to be CC'd on all correspondence, that was in there too.
Thanks, can you slide that over for 1 second? I have a question about.
Is it in all those packets?
It
Yeah,
is.
Everybody has one.
It's in your.
It's in this
in your-
package in the back of it? Okay, sorry. So, what I, for me, it's,
Oh, that's okay.
I just think that the finance committee should remain autonomous and be able to use town council.
Absolutely.
And that's, does anyone have any other? And I think that, Tommy, I would love to have a discussion about the finance committee bylaw when we have a whole group after July first. But we will definitely put it on the agenda and go forward unless you, go ahead.
I just wanted to say on that though, I'm not gonna be here after July 5th, I know.
All right,
But the 4th is what, a Thursday or a Friday?
Fourth
It's
is a Friday.
Right.
Friday, 5th, so.
right. Are you gonna be, when
Six.
would you be coming back around?
Not for a while.
Are we looking at August or?
Yeah. Yeah, after August.
After August.
But anyways, that's fine, I mean,
We're gonna have a meeting to reorganize.
Well, July first is a Tuesday.
see, I'll be okay there.
I don't have a problem with that. Ted,
Sounds good to me.
I'm gonna question the audience. Is July 1st okay?
If I'm fishing, it'll probably be in the morning.
Okay.
That's a Tuesday on the
That's a
1st.
Tuesday. If you wanna get it done.
Yeah, I would love to get it done and then all our members would be here. We just have to talk to Karen.
We should deal with this first,
Okay.
and then talk about meetings.
Oh, so, all right, so let's do
I
this. We
got-
have a
I got a
motion.
question,
Go
though.
go ahead.
Because we're still in discussion.
We're in
phase,
discussion
right?
of the motion in a
This,
second.
this thing here is a bylaw,
Yes.
so what we are gonna be asking is essentially for a change to the bylaw?
No, I just wanna be acknowledged by, I want them to know that we don't feel that the way it went down was proper. They could have, within the 2 weeks, somebody could have said, you guys can certainly seek out town council.
But did it ever go before the Board of Selectmen,
Wait,
or did it end at Austin?
It didn't, it ended at Austin and the chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think it ever officially went there, no.
It didn't go officially. So I just want a spirit of cooperation to let them know it somehow or another. And maybe we have to modify the bylaw. Go ahead, Tommy.
But what Ted just said, it could be that we may ask for a change in that and/or with this town charter stuff coming up, I think that's why we have to go over this section in the bylaw, because I think some things were changed that we asked not to be put in, put in that changes of the bylaw as a committee, and they're there, so if we're gonna go over that and come up with what we think is what should be there, it needs to be put there now, so that when it goes to, if the charter keeps going and gets to a point of being voted on, it should be in there that way, and that could be part of it.
So we would go for a bylaw change to modify it, possibly, if we all agree.
Correct.
Ted,
Okay.
if I may, the only reason I included the town council bylaw is because this is the only place I could find where it's actually mentioned. I looked through the town's financial policy and there was no mention of it, and there was no separate select board policy. And I know that a policy was referenced, but nothing was sent out, and I wasn't able to find it, so this was the only place I found it referenced.
I found it.
We seem to have a lot of that.
For use of town council?
Yeah. And it has a form.
Where is that?
That was,
What year is it dated? I'm just curious.
2016.
Ooh.
And it's in the whole set of bylaw of, select board policies and procedures here. Click on that. So there is a policy.
Maybe we could get that, and we can get, if you can,
Want me to send
For
it
the
out before
first.
Tuesday?
yeah, well,
Do you have it for your meeting on Tuesday?
yeah, I'd like to see, or just,
Yeah.
if I don't,
There's a
send me
policy
something so I
in the
know.
bylaw.
No, a bylaw trumps.
I just thought that Darren personally thinks the spirit of cooperation was totally lost during the last go-round with the,
It could have
Tommy.
been handled differently.
Yes.
Instead of flat out refusing, it could have been, let me try, maybe there's,
we had 2 weeks, we could have done
well,
something.
yeah. I'm talking more
Right.
about the meeting 2 days before.
Yes, because we were in a jam 2 days before, and Tommy had valid questions about how do we do this, or what do we wanna make sure it's right, and we wanted to check what Desi said, and we couldn't. I mean, with Desi, if we opposed the letter from Desi, would it be held up? I mean, where would the town council stand on that? That's all we were saying, we just,
I agree.
Well, that's part of why I wanted to meet tonight. I'm just a little awkward with him, but, so that, and I'm not saying we gotta do it this summer, I'm just saying we can start it in the fall. We got time in the fall to work on some of this stuff, which is, we gotta get started earlier than February or March or something.
right.
I think we all agree on that.
We know we've been trying,
Right,
and we
right.
That's
just,
the
but I'm
root
just saying,
cause
trying
of
to
all of
implement.
this, right? I mean, it was all running too late.
Correct.
All
Absolutely, we got
Uh-huh.
jammed in at the very last bit.
So I don't wanna get, other things, I have several things to do.
Yeah,
Alright.
we've asked for it, to have it
Oh,
early.
yeah, so,
And maybe we will now, but. All right, does anyone have any more discussion on just that little bit?
I'm going to the select board meeting.
Going to the select board meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, good, that was unanimous. All right, so, I think we can open it up to general discussion from, Tommy, what would you like to discuss?
Well, just one of the things I said was, I got a couple of things. First of all, getting started earlier, that we agree on that and we stick to it. And again, I'm not saying this summer, I'm saying, maybe towards the end of September, or it depends on what business comes up, but I think we should decide to meet earlier. And then we should also decide on, we've all agreed Thursday nights seem to be a good night, so stick with the prepare, or I'm looking for schedule a meeting every Thursday or every other Thursday or whatever we feel is correct,
Till we get through this.
right, going on through. And if we get to a day or two before a Thursday and there's absolutely nothing we can talk about, the meeting can be canceled, but at least we have the meeting scheduled, and we can meet, and if there's anything we need to go over, or just maybe get an update on where the budget stands for the year, and then that's it, we have a short meeting, we go. But we
Okay.
should be doing it regularly, not, let's wait, geez, 2 weeks has gone by and didn't
we
post
get
it
this.
yet, we gotta post it, and
I don't
it
have,
puts us down the road in a
I
bind all
don't
the
have a
time.
problem with that, September.
I don't know what
we can
anybody
say.
else thinks.
No, but that's, it, we gotta get going on it earlier, and I think we gotta look at the way that the finance committee bylaw is, and maybe ask for some modifications if that's what we all decide.
As long as Thursday works for everyone.
So that's the second one is, we need to look at that, so we're prepared, as long as we all understand the bylaw, and that's a couple of things I wanted to bring up.
It
Going
is
back-
complicated.
Well, one of our agenda things is to review the annual town meeting, and when those bylaw changes were made here not too long ago, under the finance committee, and this is what I kept talking about, was it said, add in, it's in, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but it said, submit budget to the town meeting. We're supposed to be doing that. That's in the state,
Wow.
I'm not sure it's in the law or the regulation, but I know it's in that finance committee handbook that it says the finance committee, once we go over the budget, and then we decide that's the budget we want for the town meeting, we're supposed to present it. Which means just submitting it to them, and then, like we always have, we've made the motions, we've made the things for all this, the financial part of the meeting.
But
And
the bylaw as it exists now, that kinda got like shoved, pushed by us,
And
didn't it?
this is what was at the town meeting, as to summarize the changes of what we voted on, the town voted on, and it's right there. It's, whoops, I gotta get my finger in the, that's a mistake I made at the town meeting, I had my finger on the wrong article and I screwed up.
Let's go.
Right there, submit the budget to the town meeting. But I think we need to go over that, and, we probably can spend one meeting, as long as everybody's got the right paperwork in front of them, we can sit there and go down through it, and again, emphasizing with the town charter being discussed, we need to be able to make sure we have
Those things.
the thing in there.
Right. I have no problem with that.
Because where's the one that was just last town council? I was just looking at,
The town council?
no, finance committee one, I had it, my fingers on it right here, which I don't have my fingers on at the moment. When we talked about anyways, the new bylaw that was voted on didn't change the part about,
Presenting.
and I don't have a problem with it, I'm just saying, it didn't change the part, if someone resigns from the committee, that the committee is supposed to present the name and vote on it.
It actually did in I saw where it goes, the moderator, and he has 30 days.
At the town meeting,
No, he has 30 days, and if someone gets off the board, i.e. Alex, that's what I'm going on. Randy or the moderator has 30 days, and if he doesn't do it within 30 days, then the finance committee can choose a member and bring it for ratification to the selectmen. I saw that in the finance committee, bylaw. So,
alright, well, then I gotta reread it.
what we can do is what I would recommend, or what I would ask, is that we get now we have the town council bylaw for us. If we can all get the finance committee member, even the new members can have that by the 1st, 'cause let's put it on a discussion for the 1st.
We have the town council when you said that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the way the bylaw is set up now, you really need the whole package. Because you have to, each one that's here refers back to the general information also. So you can separate out.
How would you like it, how would you guys like to see it? If we can make a request to have it all print, what part of the bylaw, the whole bylaw change? Or what would you like?
I'm just saying, you need to have certainly the first part of it in order to in order to have the references from the different, from some sections.
Okay,
Okay, I don't know what, I just had my finger on it.
could you,
The
could we,
finance committee bylaw, if I remember correctly, is something like 2 or 3 pages, right? It would be good for us to have full copies of the
Well,
most updated one, right?
right, but I'm just saying, the whole bylaws, I don't know how thick it is. It's
100, well over 100.
The whole town bylaw,
correct,
okay.
but I don't know how you'd separate out the ones we need, I'm not sure, so
Well, if we
without
have-
looking at
If we
it.
have our computers with us, as long as Wi-Fi is working, we can look at it online.
I
You
can
could.
separate out the FinCom bylaw.
I don't want-
Just need to know what other bylaws you.
Tommy, could
I
you
think it's
work
the
with,
reference,
Yeah.
the cross-reference.
could you work with her to
I
get
just-
us
I just
all
gotta
copies
find
of
it.
whatever you would like for the next? And I don't have a problem with it, if,
I
I'm
just,
sure Tamika will get us whatever we want and print it. And you had a question from
Yeah, so I'm looking at the bylaw, and it says the committee shall work with department heads and committee chairs to
Oh, there
advise
you
the
go,
town
yep.
administrator in refining and revising the proposed operating budget. So I'm new, I'm just trying to figure out, did you guys meet with department
We
heads?
did.
We did.
And then it says the committee shall submit the proposed budget at the annual town meeting. That's what, B,
nope, here it is, right.
section 4, B.
We, I guess just a little bit of discussion if that exactly happened that way.
Because it's not our budget, and we present it supposedly, but it's not our budget anymore, because it's the TA.
This budget process was very convoluted this year that, let me speak, that I think that just for a second, the budget process was very convoluted, and we really didn't get anything, and there was a couple changes in, like, where Tommy's going with this, we really didn't get a lot of time to review it. We had 48 hours
Right.
before the meeting, and I don't think that's the way it should roll.
But the budget isn't ours, the town, the way it's written there and the way it says it, and if you read it, again, the finance committee handbook, they meaning the select board in conjunction with the town administrator, and where our bylaw says we're supposed to be cooperating with them or working with them. The budget is completed by them, and they said, okay, here's the budget that we wanna present to you to review. Once we review it and agree on it, and decide that's what the budget should be, which should be a balanced budget, I'm assuming, which it should be, then it's our budget to present to the town meeting saying, here taxpayer, this is what we think the budget should be.
And I have no problem with that.
So,
No, but we got it so late.
absolutely, I agree, but I think that's what kept happening, because it was kept being said was, well, it's their budget, so they need to present, well, that's not how it works. Not the way I understand it, or way it's been done for a long
Well,
time.
I think that one thing, and then I'll recognize someone in the sideline. Alls I wanna say is that where we didn't get a chance to, yes, it's their budget, but we have to bring it to the town. If that's the way that I'm understanding the way they're trying to do it. And
But if we have to bring it to the town, then we need time to review
exactly,
what they have done, which we didn't have time to do.
so that's my point. Go ahead.
I watched the Holden Town meeting because my daughter lives there and she was telling me some stuff about it. And it was interesting to see their FinCom present the budget. First, there was, an introduction from I guess the chair, I don't know how many people are, about the whole budget and the budget process and that they were gonna need an override next year. It was very well done. Then each part of the budget was presented by a different FinCom member with how they got to where they got with those numbers. Whereas here, I think the whole budget was, presented as one budget. It wasn't by departments or sections, and it wouldn't take you very long if you just went to Holden Television and watched that part of the meeting. I
Well,
think,
we used to do it, we used to do it that way.
Well,
yeah, I haven't been here, so I don't know.
No,
we haven't in the past had a finance committee present each portion of the budget. We put the budget in there as a whole budget, and if there's questions or something, we've talked about different sections, but I understand what you're saying,
And
because
they
I've seen
did the
it.
same with the revolving funds and
Right.
enterprise funds.
We haven't normally done a lot of explaining on each individual section, which I think we should do more of, but we have not done that for quite a while.
I don't think that we emphasize, for instance, I don't think we emphasize that there's we feel that there's an override coming. I mean, we put that up on the board, up on the thing, but we gotta,
As the audience, if I hadn't been following stuff like your
Along.
meetings and the select board meetings, I wouldn't have known what was going on, so I can't imagine how people who
there were
just
several
went to
people that
that.
thought that they were still having an override. Up until very close, it was very confusing, this whole,
But I think it should be broken out a bit more, and I think for sure, I know you probably heard me say it, that the water and sewer enterprise, I would like to see FinCom analyze those, because that's part of the budget, and we're paying for it, those of us who have water and sewer.
I agree 100%,
Um,
110%.
You know, and is everything that's being charged to water and sewer really water and sewer? Cause I heard Austin at a meeting when they were talking about, oh, don't worry, we won't cut DPW, we'll just put them in water and sewer. That set off an alarm in my head.
no, yeah, there was some interesting parts to it. We'll get in it, they're going to vote on the 27th on the interim TA. Hopefully, we get to work with the interim TA, because I feel that, at least for a little bit of this, we gotta get our wishes, we gotta start getting our wishes known, and then work with the, however they get to the permanent TA, is my opinion. And talk, go ahead.
The bottom line here is like, what Holden did very well is the communication aspect, and I think if we're gonna be successful next year, the communication needs to start this fall, and it needs to be just everybody singing from the same sheet, right? If we're not singing from the same sheet, it's gonna be a mess and a half.
Okay.
So that's the part where we gotta all work hard together, because that's gonna be tricky.
I think when they can't, I think a mistake was made when the select board voted not to have an override, and they canceled all the information sessions. I think they should have continued to have the information sessions and explain why they chose not to have the override this year, and warn people what's coming.
And I'm of the opinion on these overrides, if that's what we're gonna have to do, that we should give information why we, as the finance committee, support, or, you know, what the ramifications are. But in my opinion, the finance committee should not have an opinion of either nay or, we should give all factual opinions, all factual and no opinions, that's all. I don't
Here's what
wanna,
would happen with, here's what would happen without.
right, and let the townspeople decide it, and not, we can tell them why it's gonna have, what implications it will have, but it's not, I don't think it's our place as the checks and balances to tell them you should not or should vote for it.
Well, I think what we are gonna recommend or not recommend, right?
You're talking about telling the,
At town meeting.
No, beforehand, if we're supporting these meetings, when we get to the end, in May or April, we're gonna either vote to support an override or not. So, but in the beginning, when we have these meetings, we just gotta give information out. I don't wanna start an opinion of what,
No, it would be ridiculous to start throwing out numbers without basis. I think
Right.
that's where you're coming
yeah,
from, and I
because
completely agree.
because it changed right to the end.
no, on the
Because there's been so
override,
many
that's not
numbers
us.
floating around, it's
Correct.
a Wild West.
At the end, yes, we should make a recommendation to the taxpayers. We think you
Yes.
should vote for this, or we don't believe it's correct, or whatever.
That's
whatever
all I'm
we
saying
decide.
at the end, because that's our job, but up until that point, we gotta just, cause
Throw
it changes.
information.
It's, put the best information we have available out there.
Correct.
And in this past town meeting, at the end, only Kerry from the library explained what this budget was gonna do. Really, because the whole budget was one big thing, if it had been separated out, more people maybe could have been there, or the FinCom, if you had had more time to say, this, we don't recommend this budget because it's
Yes.
cutting all the supplies.
Correct.
So, but that didn't happen, it only happened with her, and it wasn't strong enough to
Correct.
get a change.
The only thing that we made the motion to change the way that the 96,000 or whatever that was for the employees,
I
but
don't think a lot of people realized that when we took the override off the table, that there were still a lot of cuts
Yeah.
that were happening.
well,
to
it
the
was
line.
very
Right.
convoluted, this whole process was,
And there
But
used to be a lot more transparency in the warrant than there was this year, like, we used to have a chart that had, here's the balance in free cash, and here's the balance in water and sewer, and we had a lot more information in there that was taken out this year.
At town meeting, it's too late. If you're talking about the library and the impacts on the library at the town meeting, it's too late.
oh, we're not disagreeing with you at all. I'm not, but we didn't have that,
That's
Yes.
my point, so back to you, right? We're gonna start working in September. Like,
I don't
let's
think we
get,
should wait.
well,
No, we had,
whatever the time is,
we had
right?
said before, start now.
Yes, start now.
But see, I had, there was a couple of spots there where people were asking questions and they really weren't getting straight answer. I wanted to answer them, but then I assumed the chairman was gonna, because they said, nope, don't say anything. I thought something was gonna be said, but it
it
wasn't.
was not said.
I'm pointing down there because I'm sitting at the table or whatever. I'm not pointing at you.
You're pointing at me, I was
I'm not
next to
pointing
you at
at
the
you.
meeting
I'm not pointing
anyway.
at you.
Good, Carol.
I'm gesturing from the town meeting.
I have a question about what, and this is a basic question I should know, but does the finance committee only have any jurisdiction or any say over the annual town budget? Or does it also have, in my estimation, we should have the whole picture about all of the allocations that have been, that are on the table?
Correct.
An ambulance and the ladder
Right.
truck and these things that will impact the bottom line for all of the residents. And I think that that's something that I've been asking for a number of years in different aspects. And I haven't asked strong enough because I could get them if I needed them, but I think that that's a big,
in a couple of weeks, as a member of the finance committee, we can certainly take your recommendations and ask those, so that's in our charge, right? We can ask those
it's,
things,
yeah,
and
we don't have a whole complete financial picture
no.
of what's costing the town for things.
I think we're headed in the right direction. I think that, in my opinion, if we go every couple weeks, or like Tommy said, as often as we can, I think we can get through it. I think that we've had one of those, unless there's something like holy moly between now and September, I would recommend that we take a summer off, rest up, and get ready to rock and roll in September. But that's just daring.
But reorg on July 1st.
So reorg on July 1st, and maybe we should talk a little bit about everybody review the finance committee bylaw, so we all, the best we can, understand it and discuss it, we should have formal opinions on July 4th of what we'd like to talk about on the finance committee bylaw. The first, excuse me.
Well, yeah. But to
Tuesday
make your
night,
question
July.
is, the finance committee is supposed to have, it's supposed to act on every article or everything that comes before the town, because even things that don't have a dollar number with them, because they could have a financial impact in years to come, even though at this moment in time there isn't one. And I think I got the right sheet here for the finance, I found where I had it, it was right there. They try to soften this down a little bit, and they did a little bit, but the committee has access to all the books, all the invoice, anything that has to do with the town of Rutland, period. Whatever they want to, or need to look at,
Yeah,
But have we been given access to that? I know.
Well, if we ask,
We've asked in the
if-
past and it's, we haven't
Sometimes
gotten
we
it.
got that slow roll. In
right,
the last couple of years, we got a little bit of a slow roll when we asked for things, and sometimes we had to ask again. But the cooperation was there, but we need to, if we wanna do what Tommy's saying, and which we're charged with, we need better access.
right,
Cooperation.
and the trouble is, what we have been saying all night here is we kinda get pushed down to the very end, and you ask for information, and next thing you know, it's a town meeting before you can even get anything back.
And 48 hours before, we're having a meeting on a Thursday night. And do
The only thing we can't do is once the Wachusett budget is agreed to, and, the town decides this is the number, when, the money we pay them, we can ask, cause it's a public record, but we can't follow this bylaw with whatever, once they get their money, that's it, we don't have the ability to say, okay, we wanna look at this, or we wanna look at that.
we can do it up front.
What?
We can do it up front.
Yeah, this
We could
is-
do it up front before they put, I'm saying, once that's voted on and once it's done,
Yeah.
that's their money to do, they can transfer it, they can do whatever they want. And like I just said, we could get the information as a public record, because it is a public record, so.
Can we, can we look at the water and sewer funds and recommend, we could look at them.
No, you could look at, you can ask anything you want about whatever the money is,
I
period.
thought there was some stipulation that.
Nope.
Nope, okay.
This newer one is kind of watered down from the old one, it had some more forceful words in it, which I suggested not to change them, but they were changed by the
Yes.
committee doing this. And the only other thing I wanted to say, I'm pretty sure this is the up-to-date one when it was done, and it doesn't, I don't say anything here about 30 days for, it just says the moderator appoints at the annual town meeting, period.
Nope,
You
and
might
then
not have the right one then.
go down,
No, I don't have the right one, if that's the case,
well, hold on a minute.
because this still says,
What does the date say on the bottom of the second page?
there's no
Second page.
The
dates.
second page or the last page to tell you the last time it was edited, or revised rather. The revision date.
Nothing there.
I have June 20th, 2024. All right.
No, I don't have any, there's no dates on this.
I wonder if that's a draft because it's in blue. The month, day, and year is in blue and it just says month, day, year.
Yeah, that's probably not the most
Tom, it
current one
says,
published.
the committee shall fill any vacancies in its membership by majority vote when the moderator is unavailable or otherwise unable to appoint members and 1 month has passed since the moderator was notified of the vacancy.
That's in 3B, Tommy. If you don't have that in 3B, you don't have an accurate one.
Okay, no, mine is the old way it said, so.
All right, so we'll get you the new, that,
I'll
No,
send
it should
you
be,
the
okay,
template.
that's
you
fine
should
then.
probably tear that up and mark old.
No, I like to refer to it just for
No, or just put
Put the date on the top of it.
Yeah.
You printed or.
right across.
No, I
I
must have
understand.
the other one too, but that's the one I pulled out, so.
So we'll get every new member and member a copy of the Finance Committee bylaw for the July 1st meeting, the 27th, next Tuesday. Whoever would like to come to the Selectmen's meeting is more than welcome. And we're gonna just start that process down that I thought that the way it was handled was improper, and we'll go from there. Does anyone have anything else they would like to? Tommy wants us to look at, a couple of meetings, Tommy, you've said the cover letter to the town,
The annual report.
no, the cover letter to the financial audit, what was?
Oh, yes. The certified audit that the town just had completed that was sent out electronically, I think Austin did. There's a cover letter and their report. I think what I suggested at our meeting was you should get that and look at it.
So the whole,
Well, yeah, you gotta kind of read the
cover, okay.
there's a lot of stuff right in the beginning of it. Read the cover letter, and then
Okay.
read the beginning of the report, but then there's backup and there's a lot of things that go into that audit that.
So could
I
that,
believe it's called the management letter,
Is it's
it's
like
the
3
summary
pages,
essentially,
yes,
yeah.
could,
But the summary
Austin
isn't
sent
deep
it to
enough.
us.
Austin, but he hasn't sent it to the new members.
That's true.
And so if the new members could, if you could get that to
Yes.
the two members so they can
And
see
in
it.
the meantime, I actually think it's published on the website, on the
Oh,
budget and
okay.
financial page, but I can get a copy of the PDF to send to you guys as well.
Perfect.
Did
That
you
would-
call it the management letter?
Yeah, I think it's called the
Okay.
management
Oh,
letter,
yeah.
and it's the
It's a
summary,
management letter, but
summary
it's
of it.
it's the audit that was done on the town financials.
Maybe if you feel it's necessary to have the first 3 pages in hard copy for that July 1st?
I think you need to look at the whole thing.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, like I said, certainly the first part of the whole audit, because that goes into detail about numbers coming up, how much it, falls in right in the deficit we're talking about, come up with that.
I remember you said it and I thought it was a good way, I just wanna, and maybe we can discuss that on the first 2 a little bit.
Okay,
Is that cool?
so, yeah, but the other thing is, I don't know if there's a way to do it or not, or somehow, I know some people like looking at it on their computers, I don't. I like to have the papers, so if I get 2 or 3 pages and I wanna look at them and I wanna reference back and forth, I just want the stuff printed. I don't think the other
There was
boards and
some-
committees in town have to look at their computers when they want stuff. They get stuff printed for them, so.
There was, what,
In my defense, Tommy, I print for you.
You do, absolutely, I don't disagree with you.
Please don't.
Okay.
if you're good with the, and once you guys are ratified and sworn in, there are, if you want, a town, they'll send it to your own email, but you also have a little, Chromebook if you want, maybe.
Oh, I think they got it.
Okay.
The junk I gave my back.
Okay,
Oh, you
that's
gave yours
fine.
back? I wanna give mine back, cause I don't use it.
Mine is sitting on the same
My own
part of the shelf that it was, maybe I'll give it back.
I think they're in a box somewhere.
Alright, so,
I'll bring it back to you.
Okay.
I used it sometimes, but I couldn't figure out where the documents were sometimes. But it was, it was good to have when we were doing the Zoom meetings and stuff.
yes. Hopefully we never have to go back to that.
Can I just do a little thinking out loud about the meetings
Go ahead.
schedule? So you mentioned taking the summer off. I'm not sure that, in my opinion, is a good idea. Pretty much, we're gonna meet next week for a purpose. We're gonna get oriented, and then we're gonna be off for a month until July 1st. We're gonna meet and reorganize.
Okay,
At that point, I think there's gonna be an interim TA. If that person's not gonna be at that meeting, we ought to schedule one where they are and we meet and interact with that person. But I think we ought to have that meeting and then maybe 1 or 2 others, maybe one late August, late July, early August. Because I think it would be helpful for us to get the nature of the structural deficit that we have now put ourselves in, and some of that, I'd like to find out from the interim TA, are they going to use the financial forecasts that we've been working off
Okay.
on, or are we gonna get new ones? And then we can identify perhaps get a chance to meet that person, get a chance, maybe by that point, they've got a timeline that they're thinking about, or maybe we can brainstorm a little bit with them what might be a good time frame for our standpoint, but also identify some things that would be helpful for me, from my standpoint, it would be helpful to have the exact nature of the structural deficit that we are in, the best financial forecast that
is available to
is
us.
available, or that the interim TA is planning to use, so that come September, we probably ought to meet every other week until maybe we need to meet every week, to really grasp that. And if we come up and we meet for 15 minutes or half an hour and say, you know what, we're good, then we go home.
Like Tommy said, if there's nothing
That's
there,
great.
we'll,
Or we could
yeah.
cancel if we knew enough in advance, but
I have
I think there's a
no,
lot of little details that,
I have no problem with everything you just said. I think on the 27th, we can ask the question if we could have the new acting town administrator there on July 1st. And then, we'll see, if that can happen. And then everybody can meet with him, talk to him, and then we can ask some of these questions and present some of our concerns to him, so he can get up to speed, that person, that person, whoever that lucky person is for a few months. And then we'll work towards where we're going. I think that's a good plan, unless someone has,
No, several years ago, I tried to start in November and that didn't work. Because we didn't get going till February and everything, but so
Yeah.
I figured September was a big jump compared to what we had before, that's all.
we may have a little bit of,
That's fine.
we may have a little more cooperation this year, seeing what we're going into, and then when we ask the question what Ted said about where we start off from, where are we at right now, guys, and what financial forecasts are you doing, and what are you, and we may be, it may be his first day, or that person's first day, I gotta say that, the person's first day, and we're gonna overwhelm them, but at least we're playing on the same field, how's that? And then we'll get to having meetings, and we'll reorganize, and we'll get to having meetings, and if someone wants to have an earlier meeting, more than, I have no problem with it.
We're not, I don't expect that we would be voting on, super critical matters if you
No.
not be there, right? But I
Just
think
trying
it's
to get up
important
to
to keep
speed.
the ball moving, right? Keep the momentum.
Well, you know-
Well, get it so that everybody's thinking about what's going on, because the ball got kicked, instead of like a little soccer pass, it got kicked end to end, and then the end was 2 weeks before.
The only thing could be is if there's something comes up with
Yeah.
transfers or whatever.
Well, we're gonna have a fall town meeting probably that
Correct.
we're gonna have to deal with.
Right.
I'm sure there'll be an annual or a regular fall town meeting that, or whatever you wanna call it, so we'll have to deal with those issues, and things like that, but.
well, I remember that, for example, Austin's approach to annual fall town meeting was a huge change over previous town administrators' points in terms of the way free cash was used. It'd be nice to find out what the interim's approach to that may or may not be, because that may indicate how busy we're gonna be September, October,
I'm
Well,
getting
we don't
ready
have
for
to-
that meeting.
There is-
We don't have to worry about that because we're not gonna be free cash to you, so.
Right, exactly, I think that probably
But you're right,
solves
we did.
itself.
Ted, it's been that way, every year it's been, depends who's there. We shouldn't do that, we should do it then, you know, no, we shouldn't do it then, we should do it in the fall. It's been that way forever. So, you're
Well,
right.
I'd like to know that in
Yep.
July or August
Correct.
versus
Yep,
Halloween.
Or, yeah, the week before.
or the week before is correct, you're right.
And I think that as a committee, I think we can build consensus to, I would like to see some of the things in print before, or if you don't want print, so that we can review them before we go to a joint meeting with the selectmen, that we get hit with 30 articles. We have little or no time to discuss them. We don't even get them a full 24 hours before the meeting. I just think it puts us in a defensive position right off, and we can work with them.
What is the typical cadence of a joint meeting? Does it happen once, 2 weeks before, and that's it?
We usually meet with them to go over the warrant.
That's it?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, and we've asked several times to see the warrant like a couple weeks, so we go in there and we see it, last time it was very short. And what the problem is you're trying to form an opinion about what we should do, and you really don't get a chance to even digest it. You don't even get a chance to read it because you get it less than 24 hours. Sometimes we got it, I think, the day of, and it's hard to. And we gotta try to ask them to.
So our independence is important, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, talking to those people in an official manner is a perfectly acceptable thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, you know,
But the other time we get together on like, what our meeting, like if the schools come in to present their, I don't wanna say non-controversial, but their presentation, we try to get together so they don't have to do it once. That kind of stuff, or if there's some kind of a big project or something coming up, we'll get together with them so we can all review it at one
I
time.
think this is a very big project.
Oh, no, this is.
This year is gonna be a very big
Well,
project.
I'm saying other things away
No,
from
no,
the
that's
budget.
good. I just, you know.
Well, they all involve the budget in
let's-
some respect, but.
And one of the things, talking about a big project, that I don't have a clear, like what Ted just said, what kind of, it would be interesting to know what everybody's thinking, if they're going for an override. Is it a 2, 4, 6, or 8, or 8, or 9.8, or whatever that big number was, or 8.9, or whatever? There was a bunch of different numbers. And we significantly scared a bunch of people in town that they were all like, well, what is the number? Well, we based on a projection we knew, but what is the plan? And we need to ask them to say, moving forward, where are we going with this? And that's what Ted, like, where's that structural deficit? What are you guys thinking and how are we getting there? And I'm not saying I'm necessarily in favor of overrides and everything else, but we gotta know what we're doing. And I don't think anybody
A
knows.
strategy has to be. behind
Right,
it,
'cause
like,
are we going for 8, not, $8 or $10 million override base, it's only gonna be every couple of years, or how are they doing it? Is it one and then big? I don't know that.
and I don't think it's they, I think it's we.
Well, it's we, but as the financial executive of the town administrator and the selectmen have to kinda tell us what they're thinking.
Yeah,
And we,
sure.
that's all.
Well, it's they from the standpoint of, the state law says, they're the ones that have to decide, and they're the
I
ones
know,
that have to
but
get it to the
I
point.
think
But
we'll
they
all be
should,
better off if we.
but they
if
should
we-
present it to us
you
as
know.
soon as they are thinking about it or decide on it, so that we know what's going on, and
Well,
we
and-
can add into it.
Let's help them, let's influence the things that we can influence, right? I think, you know, that's part of the
No.
job.
And I just wanna add one, a little side thing too, is if you watch the newspapers, there's a lot of legal ads, and I've said this several times at meetings past, that you'll see a lot of towns have posted a legal notice for a public review of the budget, but some of them are in November, some are in January, February, March. Sometimes we don't even look at the full budget until,
May.
what, the middle of April,
Yeah, it was,
beginning of April, 1st of May?
no comment?
So, yeah, you have this year's budget by department or whatever it's called. Does it make sense to start as early as you wanna start, meeting with the departments you can, not ones that are missing like the town planner? And go through this year's budget, like what changes are you gonna need next year? And you could start building it instead of waiting to get it the night before or 2 weeks before,
Yeah,
whatever.
I would agree that I'd like to see that, but it's also the town administrators, he's in charge of all those departments, and with the selectmen, under the.
Well, we do see most of the department ones, we do see a little earlier. In the beginning phase, they keep changing depending on what's decided of, well, this budget should be 4% less or 3% less or whatever. So we do see those, but one of the big drivers of that factor is we don't know what the actual school budget is until the second Tuesday in March. So we don't get to see, we don't know exactly what that is until that third week of March, which happens kind of, I
But
mean,
that doesn't-
there's
Those
estimates,
guys,
there's
those guys
estimates.
have their act together a little better too, so I think you could get good information sooner.
Well, it's gotten better
They
in the
know what
last
kind of
couple of years, it's
contracts
getting
they've
better,
signed,
but,
right?
right.
Like, and I
It
think,
is getting better.
Well,
There's,
where that
yeah.
number is 60% of the budget, it's kind of
it
tough not
has,
to,
yeah, I
if you don't have it.
totally
so.
agree. But I think you can get an
Correct.
earlier read on it, because they know what contracts they've signed, they know that, you know, there's some things that are known. The state piece is the, you know, the support piece is the thing that drives me crazy in terms of not knowing what that number is gonna be. Right, and so I think the outlay piece is actually the piece that we probably have the greatest visibility into.
Well, you can always know your expenses, it's your income, that's
Well,
always an issue.
That's, right, we know part of it.
Well,
and
yeah.
it would be really nice to know, every once in a while we hear that they're talking about a new NACOG. You hear it in some of these meetings, if that's, I'd like to know if that's firming up. That's gonna be a big impact on this town financially.
Part of that picture there.
Yes, and if they're not gonna do it for a few years, thank you, but I don't wanna get it, it's gonna take a few years to pass, but we've had that floated by us at a couple school committee presentations, that, you know, that school's getting a little long in the tooth, we're gonna be
I
doing
went to
something.
NACOG.
Yes, I know. And I'm a little year older than you, and I went to NACOG. Tommy didn't go to NACOG.
I didn't go to Naples.
He went to a building called the Red Schoolhouse.
I went there too.
No, you went to the,
I went to I went to the, well, it was red, the one that was torn down.
The primary building in the
yeah,
back.
but that's not the Red Schoolhouse.
Correct.
That was the little school.
That was the little school, but there was also
school.
a Reynolds Schoolhouse up front. So I think we all got good ideas. I just say that we had.
One more thing. So the other thing, I think that we need to devote a meeting to at some point in the fall or wherever, is we need to go over the financial policies of the town, because it gets referred to frequently in our meetings. And if you remember, we were involved with that when Margaret was here, when that first one was developed. And we were asked for our opinion, we were asked to review it, and we
And then-
signed off on it.
And we haven't.
And the next version of that was developed and done, I mean, I have a copy of it, I don't know who signed it or who did it or whatever.
That was just a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yes.
And we weren't involved in that whatsoever.
You wanna take
Was
that
that the
up?
one we were asked to review last year?
Yeah, last year, year before.
Whatever, I don't know when it was.
Do you wanna take that up on the first too?
No,
Is
No,
that-
no.
Do we have that in a three-ring binder? Did we get that in a three-ring binder?
I do. I don't know if this is the right one.
Okay. And
I have the other one, but this goes back to 16, but I have the other one too.
we do have a finance committee handbook that we can get to the new
I
members.
think we got that too.
Did you get it already?
No, that I didn't send out.
It would just help you guys get a little guidance on what kind of roles and responsibility from a state perspective.
It's online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I just need a link.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
it's from the
finance
state.
page.
yeah.
I'm gonna download it and highlight it,
Yeah,
but it'll
perfect.
stay electronic.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just,
It's
I
under
just,
the Association of Town Finance Committees. You can just search that, just search it.
and the only other thing that I know that the new members need to do is, right after you're sworn in, you gotta do the ethics thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
If you
Anita
haven't.
will send you the
Anita
links.
sent me.
Yes, but I mean, that just to keep it in your mind.
And so it's ratification and swearing in, or just ratification?
No ratification's got nothing, that's just the selectmen doing it.
But then you have
Swearing
to
in is
go
up
for
to
You
you.
gotta go
swearing.
to town hall, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Town hall.
That's what I thought.
But, yeah, they're one and the same, but you have to go to different places. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss?
The handbook is 57, 58 pages, whatever. I'm sure it's, and this is a couple of years old now, so.
One thought just occurred to me that at one point in time, Peter O'Malley put a whole bunch of that stuff in a Google Drive.
Yep.
on the page, in our, yes.
In our Chromebooks, right?
Yep.
So if you guys would like, now that we have some members that would seem to like the online version, and I know Lynn, you do as well. So for my other boards and committees, we use SharePoint. And so I create a folder for each meeting, and then there are some other folders where it just has like, you know, forever documents. I can create a SharePoint, and then you can access that. It's not Google associated, so you could access it from anywhere. So if you prefer to have all your materials on the computer or your phone versus in paper, we can do both.
And
So we
then,
can appeal
and
to
then
both.
if Tommy wants to see have something printed out from there, we can do that.
I'll just
Which isn't a problem, or me, or
Tommy.
Ted, or whatever.
Yep.
Do we need a town email to do that?
No, anybody can do that, so I do that, like, for example, with my Concom members,
Okay,
and they don't have town issued email addresses, I just have to add you as an external user,
Extra.
and then you guys can access it,
That
and you can
would
get
work.
it there
I think
anytime.
that would be great.
Okay.
So it's a cloud-based service that you just make an account for and then
Yeah, so,
you can
what
log
happens
in?
is, so when I create the SharePoint for you guys, it'll automatically generate an email to you, and then you're just gonna access it through the email. And then you can bookmark it, but each time we have a meeting, I send the folder link in the email. So it's like a little folder, and it'll say like,
So
you know,
every
May
document for
22nd.
that meeting is in it?
You just click on the link, it'll bring you there. And then on that homepage, you can access all the other documents as well, at
So
any time.
if someone had an RV and they were touring the country with it in July and August, they could have
Hypothetically speaking, he
an
could.
electronic document
He
version
could.
available? Okay,
And
just
he
checking.
wouldn't like it that way, but it is an option, hypothetically speaking.
Maybe you had a printer or.
So,
Yeah.
in that same hypothetical option, there's gonna have to be a little bit of a training for some of us.
Absolutely.
And I'm probably that one, and I'm glad you guys can do it all
That's
electronically.
okay, but we can appeal to both. We can, you know, if you guys still prefer printed, I'm happy
So,
to give you printed.
I think on that Google Drive, if you can move documents from that Google
That's what I'm
Drive
gonna try to
over,
do.
because I think the finance.
He's got everything in there.
I'm
I
gonna
think
try
it
to
was
find
all,
it.
I think it was all there,
He,
I think
he
you're
spent
right.
a lot of time doing it.
Yep.
And if we can get it over to there where it's easier access, we're good.
Yeah, I think it's easier just because it's not specifically Google based, and then you don't have to have the Chromebooks and all that other stuff.
It was
It's
a
just-
pain to get there.
It was, it's worked really well. I use it with 3 or 4 of my boards, including the select board, and it's worked out
Perfect.
really well.
Okay?
Yeah.
Then I
Mr.
just
Shah.
have one other thing for us to think about.
Okay.
Again, for another meeting, not for July 1st or right away, but as we're doing the budget, I think the budget should show, along with the money that's gonna be raised and appropriated, I think when there's different items that are paid out of other accounts or in other fashions, it should be said there so that people have a clear picture right off the bat. But yeah, this may be a line, I'm just gonna use a made-up thing, but let's say the salary for this position is only $20,000 on the budget, right? But yet, there's other funds that pay another 20,000 or another 40,000
Thank you.
See you.
to make the whole picture. They should know that, of what the other number is and where it's coming from.
Yes,
And
because there are salaries that come from 2 or 3 different places,
Correct.
and they don't
It doesn't
necessarily
show
know
that, so
that.
if you don't, unless you know where to go look,
Yeah,
right, you don't do it. And going back to what Gene said, like the, some of the other ones, they should show, okay, we're gonna spend this, but it's coming from there.
I have no problem in the fall here diving into the water and sewer and things like that, and just taking a peek at it, because there's certainly a lot going on with that, and going to be a ton more going on with that
Right.
as the infrastructure is changing in the town, so. Anybody have anything else? Yes.
I'm just making a list of things, but just, I don't know if it would be possible to get the budget in Excel versus an image of a
We,
PDF.
We used to
we-
get it that
we
way.
used to get it that way, and what we can do is when we meet the new town administrator, we will ask for that. And for the people that like Excel and can do that with online, we would love for you to do that.
Cause I imagine there's gonna be scenarios
There's gonna
that we
be
might
3 or
try to
4 of you
play out.
guys that are gonna be hot and heavy on it, and that is perfect. Yeah, I have, Karen asked a
2
bunch of
years
times.
ago, we were building that
Yeah.
and
but
maintaining it.
Ki-
But it helps when you're doing revisions, that you can have all your revisions next to each other
Well,
instead
right.
of in different documents.
Karen had it.
Oh, wait, yeah, okay.
Yeah, when we got the latest town administrator, that went away.
Okay, so I just wanna comment on that, just, if we do it now, we just gotta have it so that it's not 17,000 pages long.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There was a couple times there, a few cycles back, we had it, and we had all those big black lines in between them, and other stuff was running over, and,
It got better
yeah.
at the end, but then we didn't have access to it,
Right.
so.
But you also gotta remember, when you get to that point, it's gotta be able to be put in a document to go to town meeting in the, either in the report or whatever.
And we gotta be able to understand it.
That's not our problem. Just give us the data, please.
Give me the data, I can't stand
It
it.
is our problem,
I
I wanna be able to
actually
read it.
retyped all of those
Well, I mean,
for myself.
if you wanna print it out from the spreadsheet, we can show you how to do that and make it formatted reasonably. But, for the town warrant, that's not something we have to worry
Because they
about.
keep talking about less and less town reports, and I don't think we should be doing less and less town. That's a historical record that should be here. We should have that print and done for people that, we may not look, well, I look at them, but I'm just saying, years down the road, people look at old records to find information.
And the only other thing, could you, town documents and emails and text messages become public record? Could you explain that to everybody in the group, now that we have a new group?
Well, when a record or in an official capacity, when you create a record, it's a public document. And if it's something that needs to be not circulated for, because of those, is in the, is it the public record law one or the conflict of interest one? Anyways, there's those number of things that, like when selectmen go into executive session, right? There's certain things you do. Well, same thing, record fits into one of those, that you can hold the record from being a public record that's disseminated for certain reasons.
Okay.
Other than that, it's a public record.
I know we had some questions about that, when at one of the meetings, something was done and it didn't get out to people, and it was kinda held back, so. I think we're gonna have there's a whole new hierarchy in the selectmen, and we're gonna do town administrator, so maybe we'll have some different avenues to things. I would love a motion to adjourn if anybody doesn't have any, if everybody's good,
So moved.
alright. All
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. I included you guys in this thing.